Torga 4 is believed to contain vast deposits of cormalline. Quark brings aboard a shipment of Rigelian flea spiders without an import permit. And Jake Sisko and Enrique Muñez share the same birthday. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
My name is Ryan T. Husk. Today, we are joined by Miss KAITLIN Hopkins, who plays Kilana in today's episode, The Ship. Teleplay by Hans Beimler, story by Pam Wigginton and Rick Kaysen, and directed by our good friend, Miss Kim Friedman. How are you, KAITLIN?
Kim Friedman.
I am so well. Lovely to be here.
Great. This is
Awesome.
It's a fun one, right, Cirroc?
It is a fun one, and I think the Vorta are one of my favorite aliens.
Oh yeah.
I haven't said this before, and I've kind of taken me a while to get to this place where I feel that way. But I like the Vorta. I think they're
good to know.
I like them. They're uniquely positioned in this whole hierarchy, and I like the way they kind of are open about their motivations, at least about trying to improve their own situation and self improve.
I like that they're very transparent. There's no
about that. Yeah. And also there's this, you weren't that transparent in this episode, I say. It seems like that was one of the things that was the centerpiece of the episode, was that if there was some communication between you that was an understanding where you believed each other, that the outcome would have been different. So I feel like,
yes.
That was the central tenet that was running across this episode. They wanted the viewer to kind of walk away with thinking about communication. But I want to know about your experience and on this show, and what was it like to play this Vorta?
It was amazing. It was, it makes me very nostalgic and really kind of emotional. It was really important for me. I had been a huge Star Trek fan, as many people, were growing up. I watched that original Star Trek series with my father, who isn't alive anymore, but it was his favorite show. And so my sister and I grew up Star Trek was a huge, huge part of our lives. And so there was some sort of, just personal marker, like to actually be in something that had significantly impacted you, was, just an amazing thing. And I'll never forget, like, going on the audition, what I wore, what time of day it was, where. I remember everything so vividly about that experience and how I prepared for it. It was really a big deal. And then to book it was was like another thing. I was like, oh my God, now I have to do it and be good. Oh, crap. But I felt very fortunate because I didn't know until I got the job that they were sort of still in process with deciding what the character was going to look like, and what her hair was like, and what her costume would be like, and so I had this amazing opportunity to go on the lot and spend numerous times with them trying different ideas on me. I still have some of the Polaroids were a thing then, you guys. Does that? And so, but I saw Polaroids from some of those costume fittings and wig fittings, because they tried a bunch of different stuff before they ended up with ultimately what ended up on the show.
Wow.
And getting fitted for, hand painted lavender contact lenses. Come on, who gets to do that? That's all right. Super fun. But for me, I think one of the things that gosh, how do I even say this? I thought that was one of the best written episodes I had ever seen. not saying that because and I think that Star Trek, the whole Star Trek franchise, I mean, they hire incredible writers, incredible directors. I mean, people who are just so extraordinary at their craft. But I really felt that that episode was so beautifully written and beautifully constructed. Um, and so it was such an honor and a privilege to be able to play that role is how I felt when it was happening because I recognized and also, I mean, look at who my leading man was. Come on. He's like one of the great theater actors and I'm a theater actor, right? Like,
Mm.
nobody does Shakespeare better than him. I mean, he's like unbelievable. And so the whole thing was sort of a surreal experience from start to finish. Um, and I felt, as you mentioned, that the message of the episode was really important,
Right.
and it's still important, and it's still relevant. It's more relevant now, I mean, than
Yeah.
ever. How we perceive things, how different people perceive things, and how we communicate through our differences and through the lens that we perceive things through. Um, so that makes me just proud.
Caitlin, there's definitely a lot more we want to talk about with everything that you're saying so far, but I did want to go back just a little bit when you mentioned that they didn't have the look yet for Kilana totally nailed down. I felt like that's a subtle testament to you as an actor that means they cast you based on your performance in the audition more so than your type or your look. If they didn't have the look nailed down, otherwise they just know what they're looking for and then they just pick
Yeah.
between the 3 or 4 people that look like that. But if that
Yeah.
means your performance was the key, what they wanted. And I was
Oh.
wondering, did they give you any kind of coaching or any foreknowledge as to the type of characters these Vorta are? Because they're a very specific kind of alien.
No, so that was what was so interesting about that the audition process, actually.
Mhm.
It was very clear when I went into audition after I did the scene. I remember the people in the room sort of looking at each other, and I was like, okay, I just did something good. I don't know what I did. I had no idea what I did. Hold up. Did something good because they're all looking at each other like, oh, did we just find the answer to our problem? And I was like, oh God, I hope I'm the answer to their problem. and and what was sort of interesting about it was I remember them. I don't remember exactly all the questions that they asked me, but we had a conversation. They wanted to know how I made the choices I made. Like, why had I made the choices I made? And I
Oh,
thought that was really cool because that's unusual. Like, usually they give you notes. Usually they say, oh, that was great. Can you try it this way? Or keep everything the same, but can you change your intention on this line? That's usually what happens in an audition, right? And they say, could you, how did you come to that decision? Why did you make the choice you made? And I was really excited to talk about that because I remember when I worked on the scene, my stepfather was a screenwriter and a television writer. And I remember showing him the sides they gave me. I'm like, Dad, you gotta check out this dialogue, man. It's brilliant. And I remember feeling just instinctively that one of the things that was important was the manipulation
mhm.
between these two, right? That we were manipulating each other. And I thought, and I remember just reading it on the page thinking, this woman's really clever. She's really smart. And this is a negotiation. Well, who wins negotiations? Like that, I remember asking that, like thinking that in my mind and thinking, well, if this is a negotiation when somebody has to win this, what do I have at my disposal that makes me the better competitor to win this battle, right?
Mhm.
And I thought, well, I've got my looks, I've got my body, I've got and I've got my intelligence, and I've got my ability to read people. And I
Right.
thought she's somebody who must read people well, and you don't do that unless you listen well. And I remember saying to the producers, I felt that she was somebody who had to listen well in order to know what tactic to take next. You you manipulate people through different tactics, but you can't know what tactic to use until you understand your adversary. So I remember talking about, as the character, wanting to assess my adversary and get a read on him, read the room, so to speak,
Mm.
and then make my choices based on that. And then waiting to see if they worked or not. And if they didn't work, I would then, because she clearly was intelligent, I would try a different tactic, which again is about observing
Mhm.
physical, tells, right? And I remember talking to them about poker, random, but I was like, it's kind of like, to me, it was like a game of chess or poker. That's the way the episode read to me. And I said, it made me want to play it like a chess match, to play it like a really good game of poker, where what you're doing is reading the other person and you're making sure that they can't read you. Right?
This is very good. This
Yeah.
is very interesting. What do you think,
Or
Sarah?
or alternatively, you're deliberately showing them something,
Right.
right, on purpose, which was very much a choice on my part. I was like, I want him to think this. So in essence, that's my poker face, right? Is that like I'm leading him to believe something that actually isn't true because I think it'll manipulate him. I think I'll win that way. Checkmate. Right? And it was one of the great chess games of all time in a Star Trek episode. That's why I think it was so brilliantly written.
Mhm. It's really interesting.
Who won the chess game? It was checkmate, right? Like
Mhm.
nobody won that.
It's true.
Nobody.
Yeah, that was it was a draw. Yeah.
Stalemate then.
I look at it and I'm
Stalemate.
thinking of what the producers were watching as as you're describing your auditioning process, and I'm thinking that the same thing. I'm thinking, trying to put myself in their shoes, and what I would have been blown away by was how you approached it in a similar way to how the Vorta are known for being, which is this kind of witty and charming, likable villains. Like
Right.
there's something very likable about the Vorta. Like you don't instantly hate them and just turn off about them. They're not disgusting. They're not rude.
Right.
They're actually endearing in some type of sneaky kind of maniacal way.
It's interesting you say that because, I also, my sort of, my history and things I had done prior to that, right? I'd done a lot of theater. And I was starting to make my way in film and television, but I'd done a lot of Noel Coward. And I was always the femme fatale or the villain. I'd done a lot of Noel Coward, a lot of Shaw. And that's very, very, very witty, complex dialogue where the femme fatale and the villain is, you're using language. Um, and those were a lot of the roles I had played in the theater were British comedies, British farce.
Mm.
The thing I love about villains is that if there's joy in that, if you enjoy that repartee and that skill, right? Like to me, that's fun. If you're playing somebody evil and mean, that's not nearly as interesting to me. But also, again, I was playing opposite one of the great Shakespearean actors, and in for me, because my dad was a writer and my mom was an actress. I don't know if you guys know, my mom was Shirley Knight,
Mm.
and so growing up in show business and growing up with people who were in the industry, my father was a huge Shakespeare fan, and when we were growing up watching Star Trek, he always said the reason that he loved it was because it was mirroring great Shakespeare, in terms of the nature of the storytelling, right?
Yeah.
Um, And so I think I approached it that way. Like, I didn't approach it like I was playing an alien. To me, it was a Shakespearean,
Right.
right? The stakes were that high. There was that much at stake. It was life and death. Um, there was a great battle scene, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, I think the language in Star Trek has always been very elevated.
Right. A
Right?
lot of almost all of the alien actors and character actors that played aliens are classically trained and are Shakespearean. And
Yeah.
I think it's a combination of that's what the producers are looking for, and just the fact that these Shakespearean actors, you can put them in a situation and they can get in the headspace of whatever this character is, whether it's an alien, whether it's, just an interesting person that has, that's eccentric or something like that. And as Cirroc said, your dissection of this character and the way you guessed was the correct way to deliver this character is a description of what these aliens are like. So I think that's probably why the producers were like, she's nailing it, is because you were acting like a Vorta and you picked up on that from, studying the script.
Yeah. And I went to RADA in London. I studied at the Royal Academy, and I mean, I was a Shakespearean actress myself. Um, but that process where I got to, they sort of built all these different costumes on me, and I mean, I probably went on the lot maybe 4 or 5 times over months,
Mm.
right? Where they would try one wig and they'd be like, let's, fix." One of them was, like, really long. One of them was much more severe. It wasn't as soft, and I was like, "Oh, it feels a little severe," you know? And one of the costumes sort of had a big train on the back of it. I remember that, and they were sort of I were wanting to find a balance between strength, vulnerability, and sexy.
Yeah.
Because those were conversations that we were having, and they were
Right.
showing me
Yeah.
articles. They were showing me, like, once I got the job, they were letting me have access and talking to me about the past Vortas and what they were trying to do with this Vorta, and they were trying to sort of, like, I don't know, think about it differently and have this Vorta sort of presented in a new way or a different way. I don't know how new or different it was, but I know that they were exploring that, or like you said, they would have had a set costume
Hmm.
and wig already, and that was really fun.
Well, it was a perfect transition. I mean, Cirroc and I've seen a few different Vortas now, or Vorta is maybe the plural of Vorta. I don't know. And it was right, Cirroc. I mean, like it was a seamless transition into a new Vorta character, but one that had her own style. Obviously, they're not homogenous. You had your own style, your own delivery, your own ways of manipulation, your ways of getting to the strategy. Basically, they're like a mix between diplomats and like war generals, somewhere in there, very calculated, very intelligent, very diplomatic.
I was also interested, and I remember talking to the director about this, of who did they want to have the status in the relationship, and if we both had high status, when did it shift? Does it shift? Does that make sense? Like, is he higher status? Am I higher status? Are we also competing on that level? We're not just competing for the ship or what the heck's in the ship, right? It's like, who has the highest status in this relationship, and
What
if
was
it
Kim's answer to that?
what changes it. Um, she talked about being peers and equals in it,
Hmm.
and that it would shift naturally as one of us won a point,
Hmm.
because there were wins along the way, right? Each character had different moments, I think, that were
I would say so. Yeah.
You've-
What I would say that you entered into the equation with the upper hand because
Well, I had,
you were aware of Sisko. You brought up his son. You said,
Hmm.
yeah. So you had more knowledge about him. You knew who he was and what he's about, and he had no idea who you were. You're like, so he's having to gauge and learn about you where you had the upper hand. The other part that you had the upper hand is you knew what was on the ship that you were after, and he still had to
sure,
figure it out.
I had a huge advantage in
Right,
that.
right.
Then
But
you
I
had,
do want to give you amazing.
go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I want to give you credit, um, Caitlin, because of how you handled yourself in the scenes with Avery. I thought you were completely independent, strong, and I mean, just held your own in those chess moments with Sisko.
Thank you.
Yeah, and there was especially a moment, and this kind of harkens back to when you said you didn't know exactly what you did in that auditioning process that made them, really catch attention. But when you said that, my first thought was, I think it was when your demeanor changed at the moment where you're saying, "Oh, we're reaching an impasse," and Cisco says, "We're already there," and then you're just like, "Okay, then you're fucked," or whatever he said, and it was just like
I
a
was like,
completely different. And
Yeah.
you like flipped a switch, and that was your way again of that character establishing dominance, saying, okay, I'm going to try to win at the negotiation. Okay, that doesn't work, then I'm going to try to win at the upper
Manipulation.
hand. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. It was very hot. We were in a desert.
Yeah.
I just want to say, all these years later, I've not forgotten.
Do you remember where in the desert it was?
I remember I had to get up at like 2 o'clock in the morning and drive in the middle of freaking nowhere desert. And, it took like 4 hours to get me into all that nonsense, right? The ears, your neck, everything. And they were
Yeah.
spray painting me lavender and, and they got to put the boobies in. I mean, like it was like a whole process. It was, I'm not kidding. I think it was 120 degrees that day in the
No.
desert, and the ship was metal.
Oh
And
my
we were
God.
standing on that ship, and I was like, "Thank you, dear God, that I put sunscreen on this morning." It was literally, how when you're in like that kind of heat and it like wafts up at you, it just
Yeah.
like hits you in the
Yeah.
face. I'm astounded that my ears didn't melt, like that any of the prosthetics stayed on my face. But this will make you guys laugh. So the
Oh,
gentleman,
actually, sorry, I just realized we've got to take our break right now, and that's a great tease because there's an amazing story that's about to happen, everybody. So stay tuned. We'll be right back on on the seventh rule. Hey, everybody, we are back on the seventh rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
We are doing a review of Deep Space Nine Season 5, Episode 2, The Ship, with special guest star KAITLIN Hopkins joining us, who played Kilana. Very quickly, we also will go over the trivioids that may or may not have made the cutting room floor. KAITLIN's like, why do you keep pushing these trivioids? It's just kind of a thing. So here they are. Torga 4 is believed to contain vast deposits of cormaline, I think is how they pronounced it. Chief O'Brien pretends to teach Munez something as an excuse to sit and take a break. We get a benzite sighting. Quark brings aboard a shipment of Rigelian flea spiders without an import permit. Worf leads a team to bury 42 Jem'Hadar and 1 Vorta. The Dominion doesn't recognize Federation traditions. That was another great line that you said, Caitlin. Munez is leaking like a ruptured plasma conduit. Worf rips out the Vorta's computer console, which was funny. Jake Sisko and Enrique Munez share the same birthday. Lastly, Worf and O'Brien keep the predators away from a dead man. Anyway, so where were we, Caitlin? You're about to tell us something grand.
I was about to tell you a story.
Gather around.
I gather around, everyone. But the story goes like this. The ship was metal. We were in the desert. It was 120 degrees. And that heat was just whacking us in the face. And they had to keep cutting so that Avery and I could go. And they would put like ice packs on our necks and on our wrists. And they were just trying to keep us from overheating. Well, here's the story. So those fabulous Jackson-Bey who are standing behind me, and they're super tall and yummy, right? But they're freaking covered in rubber, you guys. Right? Like that whole thing. Like I just have my little ears and my little contact lenses, which I was quite sure were going to melt onto my eyeballs. They were like lavender hand painted. Anyway, all of a sudden we're shooting. Those two guys behind me, and all of a sudden I hear,
oh no.
And that poor guy, one of those two Jackson-Bey men, just passed out.
Can I make it?
Got overheated under that rubber thing and was done. And they were like, cut. Like, oh no. So I ran over, on the set, on the sets, the director, I'm sure your fans, you guys have seen this in movies, right? The director's like sitting behind like a little TV where they can like watch the playback. And I immediately ran behind Kim and I was like, can I see the playback? I was like, is he okay? They're like, he's fine. I was like, great. Can I see the playback? I swear to God, somebody's got to have that footage somewhere.
They got it.
Literally.
Like,
we should ask Kim.
We're there and saying whatever I'm saying. And all of a sudden, this huge guy just falls out of frame. And it was it's funny now. It wasn't funny then. It was just
it wasn't funny then. It was a life or death issue then, but now we can laugh about it.
So you're saying he was done, or did he try to walk it off? Say, no, I'm okay. I want to get my.
He was out cold. Like he fainted. He fainted. They had to,
his day was over.
People came in, and I mean, he was okay. I think they just had to hydrate him, cool him off a little.
Yeah.
So I do have a couple quick questions for you, Caitlin. That when I was watching this again, they kind of just popped in my head. Very quick and easy ones. Number one, when you're scooping up the dead founder, did they tell you what was that stuff you were scooping up? Was it sand? Was it cream of wheat?
You're the second person that's asked me that over the years.
Couscous?
Couscous. I don't know. I don't remember. Isn't that terrible? And I know that would be really cool if I did. But I think, can't we just contact the props person? Because I'm dying to know now, because I don't remember what it was. I was just like, it's cool.
I think it was coffee grinds. Ground coffee.
I think there's something to be said for like the mystery, the mystery of it all. Like us, no one ever really knowing what a ground up melted founder is made of.
Yeah.
Oh, and Cirroc, you wanted to ask about the set. That was definitely something that I was watching. I mean, what do you want to ask?
Well, you said a little bit about it, that it was made out of metal, but I just wanted to know that thing that we're looking at behind Ryan, where's was something that they built into the rocks, right? I mean, this is something that was. I
guess so, because I drove out to the middle of the desert, as I said, at like 4:00 in the morning, and it was there, right? So I think that they scouted the location and they built it into the rock. Yeah, they brought it out there, and it was already there when I got there.
I was trying to figure out, like, how long does that take a team to build? I mean, usually they only have like a week to do this, but like since it was the second episode of a season, maybe they started building it.
I mean,
before,
maybe.
But
I mean, I wonder. It makes me wonder. Was it a pre-existing set that they drove out on a flatbed? And so it was already constructed in a prop warehouse somewhere, around the lot. or they just got it out of storage. I mean, one of the things that was so fascinating, oh, I felt so lucky to have had this experience because I got to go and have all those costume and wig fittings, right?
Mhm.
I got to walk through one of like the costume warehouses where they store all of the frickin' Star Trek costumes.
Wow.
And you know how I like when you go to the dry cleaners and they have those,
Yeah.
what you call them, right? Like the thing that electrically moves around and like they're like, oh, it's your number, and here comes your, your dry cleaning. That's what it was like, but it was like the Disneyland of dry cleaners, right? Like it was huge. It was huge, and maybe it wasn't as big as I remember it, but
No,
in
I
my
think it's
mind,
I think it's that big.
it was this huge sound stage, and the whole thing was like all of these racks, and they would, I was fascinated, and I said, how do you find anything? And they said, oh, you just punch in what you're looking for, the number, right? And just like the dry cleaner thing, it brings it around and it drops off your, Starfleet uniform with
Wow.
like the pecs and the shoulder pads built in. I didn't know that either. I was like, how come everybody's looks like they're photoshopped on Star Trek? That's because
A
they
lot of
build in.
secrets.
There's a lot of secrets. There's like tummy things that hold you in.
Well, speaking of the fittings, I mean that outfit that you have on behind Ryan is pretty revealing in the cleavage section.
Isn't that
And
fun? 'Cause I
In
don't,
that sector.
y'all, I hate to
in that
disappoint you,
sector,
but I don't got those boobies.
well,
Those
they
were
look great right
totally
there.
like
Whatever is
they
there.
they just mushed together what I had, and then they put all kinds of wedges and stuff in there.
Mhm.
Then they took like a nice brush with some blush on it and kind of, gave me a little cleavage, a little shadow. That was so much fun to have big boobs for a day.
You were only out there for a
And-
day?
Okay, a couple days, whatever
Okay.
it was.
I was going to say that's a good job.
Also, I just kept saying how beautiful you are, and usually people when they're wearing alien makeup are not still attractive, but I found myself looking at you and saying how attractive you were.
Everybody, that's for everybody. Well, thank you.
So I have to pay you that compliment.
Thank you. I
Cirroc
But-
says what we're all thinking anyway. So.
Yeah, sometimes
Yeah,
sometimes I wear my hair, like kind of actually I am today a little bit, but kind of like flipped
In a
forward,
poof.
like the wig, and it kind of poofy in the front. And my students, whenever I wear my hair that way, because most of the time it's in a ponytail, and my students always say, you look like Deep Space Nine today. You look like your character.
Now you mentioned your students. I wanted you to just kind of touch upon what you're doing with teaching, because that's another thing that you mentioned Shakespearean acting, and that's something you have in common with Avery. But another thing that you have in common with him is actually being a professor and teaching the young kids about the business and about how to be professionals. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Um, I was very fortunate about 12 years ago. I was approached by a university in Texas. That's where I'm zooming in from, in San Marcos, Texas. We're south of Austin. There's a university here called Texas State University, and they were interested in starting a new BFA in musical theater. And I also I'm also a singer and had done a lot of Broadway musicals and national tours and stuff like that. And they approached me about designing this new degree plan for young professionals, and I said yes. And so, and I actually, when they offered me this job, I was on the national tour of Dirty Dancing. I was playing baby's mother. Nobody puts baby in the
Okay.
corner. And I was supposed to go. I was supposed to go back to New York, and they were doing a Broadway revival of Bye Bye Birdie, and I had been asked to do that, and I ended up backing out of that because I had this extraordinary opportunity. I mean, that's never going to happen again, right? Someone's like, "Hey, you want to design a degree plan in musical theater?" And I was like,
Yeah.
and I had started directing and producing, and they were really offering me an extraordinary opportunity here to be able to direct as well as teach and produce and all. I'm primarily interested in producing new plays and new musicals, and this would give me a place to do that. And so I did. And so I've been here now for a little over 10 years, and I teach and run the program, and get to, I don't know, help shape young artists in the industry. And, we're a program in a university that's primarily based in social justice. And a lot of my students are artist activists. And we're a Hispanic serving institution. So most of my students are students of color.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's been an incredible gift in my life to be able to. I love getting up every day and getting to go to work and teach. It's an amazing thing. I didn't see my life going that way. Like it wasn't something I planned or something I thought would happen. But I'm sure glad it did.
Along that subject, as well as Cirroc mentioned, Mr. Avery Brooks is also a professor, and you got to share quite a handful of scenes with him. Can you tell us what that was like working with Avery? And if you had known him before or known of him before, or was this a first time meeting, and any impressions you had?
Yeah, no, I was very aware of him because I was a huge fan.
Nice.
Um, and I had not met him before. I know, I believe he and my mom had crossed paths, over the years. I think they'd done a film together. They did something together. And so I was very excited to meet him and say, "Hey, I'm Shirley Knight's daughter, and I'm so happy to meet you," because I know that they had known each other. Um, yeah, I sort of felt the same way. Like I had an opportunity to work with Angela Lansbury on her TV
Hmm.
show and Dick Van Dyke on his TV show, right? And when you get to work with people like of that caliber, like who've left this huge legacy and have made such a contribution to the art form, I just was humbled. I was excited. I don't know. I just wanted to sit and talk to him about Shakespeare on every break, which he very kindly did. We talked about the theater. We talked about that's what we talked about the whole time. Every time they're like, cut, we had a break. I just would ask him anything I could think of, to pick his brain and learn from him. When you get to work, like I said, with people who've made that kind of contribution to the art form, and you're a young actor. I mean, I'm 58 now. How many years ago was that? Like, God.
25.
Yeah, okay. So I was still learning and I'm still learning and growing as an artist, and as a director and a teacher, but he represented everything that I wanted to be, and so I just wanted to learn from him. And I feel bad for people like Angela Lansbury and Dick Van Dyke when they had me on the set because all I did was, I had like my notebook. I was asking questions and wanting to hear stories and, tell me stories, Um, so much of what we do in our business is pass on to the younger generation, you know, and people like Avery who are so generous. He was so generous of his time and his knowledge and, his willingness to like mentor a young actor. It was a pretty big deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
I about
I,
freaked out, guys, when I booked that Star Trek Voyager show, which I was a massive
it
fan of.
was.
I
I
could
was
hardly talk.
I
I
actually
could
wanted to
hardly
ask you
talk.
about that, about the Voyager thing, and I'm sorry, Struck. I know you had something, but just
No,
real
go
quick,
ahead.
because
Go ahead.
yeah,
I
you
just saying,
mentioned this. I did want to ask you, not to get too deep into a different series or a different episode, but I was curious. Was it just a coincidence or happenstance that you booked a second Star Trek role, or were
no,
you
it
part of a
was
short list of people that they called back and said, maybe what about Caitlin? Maybe she could do this. How did that
I don't
process work?
yeah, I don't have proof of that, but I believe that that's the case simply because I know that the casting director really liked me and liked my work, and I think I did a good job. I think they were
Hmm.
pleased with what I did, and um, I hope anyway that I had made an impression that I was an actor who was willing to make strong choices, bold choices, and was versatile, right? And was good with comedy, but also took it seriously. I wasn't commenting on the work, and I feel like they brought me in specifically for that other role because I think they wanted to see what I would do with it.
Hmm. So
I
they
really do.
called you and asked you to read for this particular
Yeah,
role. Oh,
yeah.
that's cool.
Whereas when I went in for Deep Space Nine, my agents had submitted me, and they let me come in on it.
Wow,
So,
what a compliment.
well, I don't know for sure that that's true, but that was I remember that was how it felt at the time,
Mhm.
and sort of, I was really excited that I got the role.
I wanted to just bring up a little thing that there was some fantastic things that you did in these scenes that I just want to highlight for the viewers. Um, one of them is during the scene in which you brought something for him to eat,
Eat.
and it came on a platter, and you said, "Hey, would you like to have a slice of mango or something or
Yeah,
whatever it
whatever.
was?" And you're like, "Oh, you think it's poisonous?" And no, and then you took it and you ate it, and you're like, it's nothing wrong." And Sisko very smartly and cleverly says, "It's not poisonous to you,
Right.
your species. You can eat it, but I don't know if it's poisonous to me." I just thought that was just a great interchange between the two of you. I love that moment where you're trying to sneak one by him and have take a sip of this thing or eat this thing, and that play was great. And then there was another moment where Cisco is defending on why he's doing whatever he's doing, and he says, "It's my responsibility to protect the lives of my crew."
Hmm.
And then your response, which I thought was just not only brilliantly written, but brilliantly performed by you, and that is where you say, "Well, I have a responsibility too to protect our," and you paused right
Yeah.
there, and you didn't say lives because you're not protecting lives, but you said property, and you were making the equivalence between your property being just as valuable as those lives that he's protecting. And I just thought that was like, it brought up so much in my head because we talk about property versus lives and lives and property. It's always been an ongoing thing when you talk about this country and the legal system and what people fight for. And so it brought so much to the forefront of my thought. And I just wanted to credit you for really it was that subtle pause where you're actually thinking about the conscious use of replacing the word lives with property. Any thoughts on that little bit of the performance?
Thanks for noticing. Um, Thoughts. I don't know.
It's a choice. I mean, it's just such a great choice.
I mean, I think. I mean, this perhaps is not the answer you're looking for, but my feeling about acting in general, right? When you choose to go in for an audition for something, right? Or you choose to accept a job you're offered. Maybe you don't have to. Maybe you didn't audition for it. I think that we have responsibility in the narratives that we put out there, right? And we can choose the narratives that we choose to, put out in the world and not. And to young actors out there, I'm like, there's no job in the world that's worth putting a narrative out there where you are either reinforcing a stereotype or I don't know whether has to do with it's a longer I don't want to go off into a political conversation, but I
Sure.
really felt strongly about the narratives that Star Trek was putting out into the world.
Hmm.
The messages and the stories that they were telling and how they were telling them. Right? Like I had a real awareness, appreciation, and gratitude for the types of stories they were telling and how they were choosing to tell them. And so I took it very seriously. And as a young actor, you take everything seriously, right? And maybe too seriously. But I was really looking at that. I was looking at dissecting that and looking, and I am somebody who chooses her words very carefully. I think words have power, and I think words matter.
Mhm.
And that was a personal part of me that I brought to the character as my response to the question, in terms of the choosing the word that she chose. That it was I think it was deliberate for the character,
Yes.
and important that
Yes.
the character deliberately made that choice
Mhm.
and didn't just throw it away.
Yeah.
And
And I
also,
loved eating it up. I ate it up.
she was, there was also, with everything with Star Trek, there's a ton of subtext, and she was also trying to hide the fact that there was a living being. She was trying to throw like a little red herring, trying to throw him off the scent as well, kind of saying she didn't necessarily also want to say lives, because she didn't want them to know that there's a life that's important there, that she's, kind of tries to throw them off the scent there. We only have a couple minutes left, Kaitlin, but this has been so much fun. This has been really good. We really appreciate you taking the time to join us here. We talk often about episodes that are memorable. And when I look back at Deep Space Nine or certain seasons, there are a few episodes that really stand out. This is one of those that left an impression, on me. And I feel like on most Star Trek viewers, even if you've just watched the entire series once through 25 years ago, if somebody shows the picture of your character, people go, I know exactly who that is. I know what her role was in the episode. I know what the episode was about. It was a very clear and memorable episode. And I think that kind of is similar to what you were saying earlier in this recording about how you thought this was one of the better or best written episodes. I totally agree. Very memorable. Any final thoughts on it before we go?
No, it's just like, thank you for inviting me to revisit it, because it's something I'm very proud of,
Hmm.
and yeah, and I feel very lucky to be, this much a part of the Star Trek story and legacy, so thanks for letting me revisit it. It was really a pleasure.
And Cirroc, did you notice you had a Nam? And she said it.
Yeah, I did have a non-appearance mentioned where
Yeah,
she
you
talked
mentioned
about
him.
yeah. But I just want to give you credit for continuing the legacy of strong female characters that Star Trek
Mhm.
does a great job of representing. They also do a great job of diversity. We had a character named Munez in this episode,
Yeah.
which is
Oh,
of Latino descent, and so they make sure that they go the extra step and beyond to make sure that people feel represented and that they're not pigeonholed into the same stereotype
that's right.
that
And they were
that
doing that
limit us.
way before it was, cool, and everybody suddenly woke and being
Way
inclusive,
before.
and you know uh caring about underrepresented demographics and caring
Yes,
about representation, and they were doing it not just related to race. They were doing it and related to body types and gender diversity, long before anybody
Mhm.
was even having that conversation. So
yes,
again, I always respected that they were very subtly or not so subtly putting that narrative out into the world, and telling stories. I don't need to see another episode of television where women are raped and beaten and
right,
perpetuate that it's okay to do that, right?
Mm.
Or,
absolutely.
or where the characters that are committing the crimes are people of color. I don't need to see it, and I don't need to perpetuate. I don't need to, I can say no to those roles
And
Yes,
and say no. I don't want
on
to put that
top of
narrative.
that,
yeah,
Star Trek and Deep Space Nine, on top of that, also is willing to throw in a little bit of imagery to remind us of those things. Is like in the episode Cirroc where Sisko goes into that box, we kind of keep talking about that one. There's a lot of little imagery where they kind of still put in these subtle hints and say, remember, this thing still exists, or that thing used to still exist. And so, they present things so well, and they write it so well that you just kind of have this aha moment. And that's what we love about Star Trek. But thank you very much.
Yeah,
Caitlin.
I was glued to my seat watching this episode. Sometimes I watch an episode and I do other things, do a little knickknacks around the house. So, I mean, it depends if the episode has my attention or not. If it doesn't, then I'm going to find little things to do while I'm taking my notes here and there. But if it doesn't have my attention, it doesn't have my attention. But this one, I actually planned to do like little things, but I found myself sitting there and glued to the TV, like, I have to see what's going to happen next. And even the music, I want to give a shout out to the director, Kim Friedman. She did a great job with keeping the suspense for such a small amount of space. I'm sure she didn't have a huge set to work with, but she kept the suspense there. The music was remarkably suspenseful and kept me interested and kept it eerie and ominous. So I just want to make sure everybody gets their credit. But fantastic job, Miss KAITLIN Hopkins. Thank you so much for being on the show and sharing your experience. Clearly, now I have more understanding why you shine so much, because you have that background and you have that foundation. And obviously that background, that foundation can help you develop an entire curriculum at a university. So there's there's a lot of depth to that knowledge, ladies and gentlemen. So
let's keep
it
our
pays
fingers
off.
crossed that they have the Star Trek convention in August. They keep rescheduling it, and I was so excited. It's my first one I've ever been invited to.
Oh, that means you'll be there, huh?
Something to look forward to.
If it happens, I'm really excited.
We are going to see you there, Caitlin. We will see you there.
We'll see you there.
Kitty Swank is supposed to be there, and like lots of people I love that have been in my life for many years will be there, I hope. So it'd be great to see everybody.
Looking forward to it.
We have good chances. I think we're above 90% chance of it happening, I think.
All right, good. All right. Well, in that case, I owe you guys a drink.
All right.
Oh, well, we owe you a drink. I'd like to buy you a drink. So we can both
our
get
drinks
one.
are like this big, though, so I hope that's okay. They're like fish bowls in a straw.
They're biggest size.
Anyway, we do want to give a very quick special thanks to Carmen, a.k.a. Skillet, PJ Tomas, TJ Jackson-Bey out in Missouri, Bill Victor Arucan, Yvette Blackmon, Homer Frizzell, Dr. Marie Segal, Dr. Susan B. Gruner, Tim Baum, Titus Mohler, and Eve England out in Wales. Thank you all very much. KAITLIN Hopkins, you were incredible. We look forward to seeing you in just a few months. And everybody at home, stick around for the free-for-all. We'll be right back on the... Wait, KAITLIN, can you tell us in 20 seconds or less your new businesses that you have so we can promote those very quickly? I'm so sorry.
Yeah. I've got a wonderful, if you suffer from dry mouth at all, I've got a wonderful dry mouth throat lozenge that I developed and it's been on the market for a few years now. We have a new flavor coming out. The original flavor is tart green apple, and we now have a tart manuka honey lemon flavor. And the name of the company is Fontus, Fontus, Fontus Dry Mouth Lozenges. You can follow us on, Instagram and all that good stuff. And then I also have a company called Living Mental Wellness, which is a curriculum developed for life skills and mental health for performing artists and other humans who need that stuff.
If you ever have a commercial for your throat lozenges, they should be dancing around going, say, you want us, Fontus. Okay.
Oh, wow.
No, I'll cut that out.
Yeah, we can cut that out.
I tell you what, though, you guys got to send me your addresses so I can send you samples, because I totally want that Star Trek endorsement. That would be really awesome.
All day.
You will have it,
and I can't wait to give you a big hug in person when I see you at the next convention, at your first convention.
I know, I'm excited. Be well.
Thanks very much. Everybody
Thank
at
you so
home,
much.
always remember the 7th rule.
Welcome back to the 7th rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello.
I am Scott Jensen. Somehow tonight we have Homer Frizzell with us.
Frizzy.
We have Miss Malissa Longo.
Whoa!
Dr. Sue Gruner. TJ Jackson-Bey down in Missouri. Missouri. I don't.
Yeah.
Never been that way. I can't tell you. And Tim Baum. Our old pal Ryan T. Husk. And this is the free for all. Welcome, everyone.
I thought Ryan
Oh,
Seacrest was here for a second. I was excited.
Ryan Seacrest.
Ryan.
And Anne-Marie and Eve. See, I messed it up.
Wait,
See
are
that?
you guys going to
God, I'm
sing
so good.
this American Idol?
And Anne-Marie's in Lower Manhattan, and Eve is in
Midtown.
Upper Wales.
Dr. Anne-Marie.
Midtown.
I don't.
Midtown.
From Lower Manhattan to Upper Wales.
Are you really in Upper?
Yeah.
Where in Wales
Wow.
are you, Eve?
Actually, it's probably Lower Wales. Yeah, South.
Ooh.
I had a
From
feeling
Lower
the way
Manhattan to Lower
the way you
Wales.
didn't say anything kind of tipped us off that I guessed wrong.
Eve, I wanted to congratulate on Wales winning the Six Nations.
Thank you very much. I know. Field.
I actually had money on that last match when France beat
Okay.
them.
Did you win
Is
though?
that why your head is down?
Oh, with that last try in extra time, I lost a lot of money. I thought, and all,
Allegedly.
you know what?
I'll teach
That
you.
cut into my beer budget.
Not the beer budget.
Beer budget?
TJ liked that a little too much from his laugh. He had a
You
hearty
can't
laugh.
mess with the beer budget.
So, Homer, you've got
Yeah.
something to tell us about this episode, The Ship, right?
I do. It's one thing that I read in the DS9 companion, and another thing that just came to me as I was watching it. So I'll start off with the first one about what would have happened if Sisko, and the entire crew stayed in the ship the entire time. Like they had that sort of ratcheting up, that pressure cooker with the bombs going off in the air, and so instead it could have been like the Alamo, for example, because I think when he met with the Jem'Hadar and the Vorta, it kind of depressurized the situation. So it would have been interesting to see how they might have done that differently, and how the different scenes would have been played out. You know, the Jem'Hadar faction, I think we would have gotten a little bit more information about how they were feeling specifically, and the pressure in the ship. The other thing, though, that I'm more curious about is that I don't know what the changeling was at the end, because if that's the floor, then there's that a seat, but they don't sit down. What was that thing that the changeling was? Because when I first saw it, I was like, oh,
The
that's a ceiling.
ceiling.
So that's a
Cushion,
luggage
yeah.
compartment, but it's actually the floor because the ship's upside down.
Well, the
Maybe
changeling,
it's like a pet bed.
the changeling
pet
just probably
bed.
just forms, just stuck into the ceiling.
That's
But
what I
it was the
figured.
floor.
Yeah, but it can move from the floor to the ceiling.
What,
It was dripping on the
what kind
floor,
of pet?
It's
I don't know,
the
like a
changeling was a
Petco.
speed bump on the floor.
Whatever their targs are.
Yeah, but it
Don't
can
get it.
move and slither up to or
Pet
down
throne.
to wherever the top is, wherever it's most comfortable hiding.
And then a follow-up question is, couldn't there have been a better choice than whatever that was for the changeling to be something? I mean, they just didn't look up, apparently, but I think there could have been something that would have been even harder that would have blended in more with the Jem'Hadar ship than that floor rack.
They don't know like anything
somebody
about
needs to
the
put
ship
on
at
his
all.
tie right
So it
now.
could be anything. Yeah.
Who's that? Okay, I'll stop there.
I just
No,
thought it's
what were you
random
saying, Anne-Marie?
debris. I mean, you've never been in the ship before, so I just figured it was random debris. Like, because who knows what's supposed to be anywhere.
That was stuck to the
Yeah.
roof floor.
Yeah.
Probably what they were hoping, that humans didn't know enough.
And they showed remarkable restraint not shooting at it while it was kind of moving around there too.
Totally.
Started blasting.
It looked like it was going to attack how Odo attacks with his like liquidated self. It kind of looked like it was going to start spiking out at people.
But thankfully,
what was it doing now? What were the Jem'Hadar and the Changeling doing on that ship? Did they ever really get into?
They didn't say why they were so far off from where they usually
what they were doing out there. What were they doing out there?
Yeah, because usually they don't really interact with the Jem'Hadar, right? I mean, the Changeling used the Vorta to do their middleman work. So it kind of seems
maybe he was just like a passenger to go somewhere to change into somebody and spy.
And then how was the ship shot down? Because I mean, you can't imagine that there's.
Oh, I thought it was just technical difficulties.
Yeah, but
no.
It's like
so
all the aliens always crash.
Or like some anomaly with the planet. Maybe like whatever ore they were looking for messed with the magnetic field.
Was there a Vorta? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Was there a Vorta body on there, like when it crashed, or was it just?
Thrown clear. I think.
Yeah.
They said that they buried 49 or 20. I think it was 29 Jem'Hadar and 1 Vorta was what they buried. We didn't see a Vorta body, but they mentioned
father burying.
Yeah, not thrown clear. It's not like they had the
ceremonial
top down.
Well, she would probably say that to get on Sisko's, play to his sympathies rather than,
good call.
Actually burying bodies.
Yeah, I was thinking how long it would take to bury 29 people. Like,
seriously,
they're fucking huge.
Yeah,
that's like a lot of digging. That's a full out day's job. That's like 6 feet each grave. That's like, I mean, there's only there was 9 of them in the beginning, so they'd have to go back and forth dragging bodies.
Yeah. They get an extra hit of Ketracel White. You got to do it faster.
Checking out the planet for mining, so they probably had some portable mining devices with them when they did the emergency transport to the crash site.
Okay.
Nice.
Well, very nice. Very good.
Yeah, wrap that up pretty good.
I'm sure the Changeling didn't turn its hands into giant shovels or anything like that. That would have been probably faster. But
had they established the Changeling die into piles of sand, black sand?
Huh?
Had that been established before, or is this the first?
Didn't we only see that one Changeling die before?
Yeah, the whole.
So this was the second time that we saw it.
Yeah, did he die and turn into sand the first time? It must have.
I always get kind of bored in that episode and stop watching this.
He kind of fell apart. I don't know if it was sand exactly, the first one.
Okay.
The one that Odo killed. I do think it turned into sand after.
Oh, interesting.
I don't remember it being black sand though.
No,
like an ash type thing.
Yeah.
Maybe the colors of sand when you die, Gary.
Avery's
bury in the atmosphere that you died in.
Oh, yes, I like that. That's good headcanon.
Wow.
That's
okay.
awesome.
We got science over here. Now, Avery has a musical album that he recorded. The title of it is Here. I don't know if any of you have seen it or put your hands on a copy of it, but Avery made a jazz album that was called Here. And it's actually a play on Paul Robeson's autobiography called Here I Stand. And he just took the I stand away and called it Here. But if you read the inside jacket and the tributes and the thank yous that he gives, one of the lines in there is "Thank you for sand," and I think it always jumped out at me like, what does he say? You know?
How does he still like sand after all these outdoor episodes?
No way. So every once in a while, I'll, if I get a chance to and I remember it, I'll say it back to him. Thank you for sand.
You haven't never asked him, Cirroc?
Yeah, I've asked him. I've brought it up many times, and I mean, it's like a metaphor. It's like this. It's like a deep thought for him. So essentially, we're all. It's almost like, the earth that we're standing on. So it's a little bit of that. But I just think it's funny the way he wrote it like that. And there's also another attachment. I don't want to misquote it, so it has some kind of connection to music, a song, and a lyric in a song, or a poem, a lyric in a poem. But it actually refers to something too. So that's this double meaning.
Was it "Stand by Me"?
Can you imagine if Avery?
It took a long time, but you got one in.
All that, ladies and gentlemen, was just to set that up.
There were like six groans in there.
Oh my goodness! Yes, that was it.
Yes, "Stand by Me." That's very good.
Oh man,
are we recording?
Oh my gosh! Is anyone still watching?
Okay, well here's a fun bit of trivia for everybody.
I have really fast trivia.
No,
Sorry,
please.
This is very much required. Guess what show Munoz was in for a whole season?
Oh,
ooh, that's a great one.
Yeah, because it's The Shield.
Oh
wow!
Circle.
Wow!
Yeah. Super exciting. Yeah. Okay, continue. Sorry.
And we all just do one long wow in honor of Aron Eisenberg for The Shield.
Wow!
That would get some excitement.
Eve's like, I came back for this. Okay, so here's a fun bit of trivia, and it's actually similar to what Anne-Marie was talking about. His name is F.J. Rio, by the way. And so Eve probably knows the answer to this question, but most of you may not. Do you know how many other episodes of Star Trek this actor was in? And bonus points if you know the series.
Oh, I know that.
All right.
No, I don't.
Damn it.
I was like, whoa, which actor?
That's awesome.
All right, Anne-Marie, do you know?
Voyager and Enterprise.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2 more of DS9, which I love because it really makes you feel something when the character is not a one-off who dies.
Totally. 3 episodes.
DS9 is so good at that. But I don't remember
right now.
I don't think I remember exactly where I've seen him in the other 2.
And do you guys
know because one of them's Enterprise?
Do you guys know what if what's her KAITLIN Hopkins, who played Kilana? I know Anne-Marie knows. She's already
so good. It's so good.
Do you know the other role she played in Star Trek?
What? Oh, it's because my friend Heatherwood, the Janeway drag queen, also does an imposter Janeway drag show where she's the imposter Janeway who KAITLIN Hopkins plays in that Voyager episode.
So good.
It's really fun.
The imposter Janeway and Tuvok.
Okay, yeah, I remember that.
Remember? It's one of the most amazing ideas for an episode. So good.
Yeah.
And there's that meme always that's if you get Janeway and Tuvok on Wish.
Yeah.
And then it comes off as the Janeway Tuvok imposters from that episode. I love it.
I love that the Tuvok guy was really trying to be Tuvok.
Yeah. He was a real, what do you call that? When you say character? Yeah, method actor.
Yeah.
The giant Delta shield on his. Oh man, that was so great.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, here's a fun one though. Okay, so the alien called Talor that I think Cirroc called the ugliest alien ever. Somebody
behind TJ there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like, did they just mix together some parts? Like, hey guys, we need an alien. Just whatever away from the last
some
time.
leftovers from season 2.
Yeah.
From Phantom of the Opera.
They just piece it together.
Or yeah, maybe it was pieces of the phage because Voyager was gone at that time.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
So that was played by Ken Lesko. Do you guys know how many other episodes of Star Trek he was in?
That's the guy that's behind TJ?
No, that's the
a
Benzite.
female.
That's a
The
Benzite.
female Benzite.
Okay.
So Ken Lesko was actually various aliens and characters in 7 Deep Space Nine episodes and 4 Next Generation episodes. I had no idea. Pretty cool.
Awesome.
Played a lot of little...
He's the guy that died at the beginning?
Yeah. Who had the med kit.
Yeah.
He's the guy, Homer, I'm going to spotlight you.
Or
Okay.
science blue guy.
Oh.
Yeah.
This guy, the blue guy.
The blue shirt.
Science blue.
Blue shirt, yeah.
I don't know if
Statistically, he wasn't
anybody else
supposed to
thought
die.
that, but I was like, he's going to die. I don't know. As soon as I saw the crew of people there, I was like, all right.
Yeah.
They're
This was a rough away mission, though. Yeah, this was a really rough away mission.
Yeah.
Right.
It's probably
Okay.
like one of the biggest numbers I think I remember.
It goes on for forever.
Yeah,
where they're
like,
waiting for
There were
help.
so many people in the runabout. I've never seen
Yes.
a runabout crew that
Fucking,
big.
like, it was like a
At
clown
least
car.
9.
Listen to them on the planet. You know,
It's a
there are
TARDIS.
5 of them on the
Throw 'em on the
planet,
back.
and like there are already like 5 people still in the runabout.
Yeah, there were
They're
at
still
least
back there.
9. At least 9 that we know about.
So you know they were like already getting on each other's nerves. And then this happened.
They're like, put on some
They all
deodorant,
felt bad
Worf.
afterwards. Oh man.
All right,
I
so
was
here's...
asked Homer to shave. I mean, he
Yeah.
hadn't shaved in a while.
So...
Who had a Worf? I need to manscape, Captain.
Oh my gosh. I would love an episode of just that.
Oh God.
I bet
No,
Riker,
not a whole
I bet Riker would teach
I know.
him.
Paramount Plus. I don't know about that.
No, that's not Paramount Plus. That's Paramount X.
Yeah.
Yes,
You
it's
turn the plus like that.
To a
Paramount After
minus.
Dark.
That would be a Paramount minus. So we
No, spin-off series.
Then
man.
Starfleet was calling
Worf's
him back. I don't
makeover
know.
show.
All right, so here's the last fun character trivia. This one you guys may know. The awesome Benzite alien named, what was it?
That Hoya?
Hoya, that's behind TJ there. Do you know the actress does play another character on Deep Space Nine? There it is.
Oh my God. Ew. I love these.
And this one is a known character that you guys will know. You just don't recognize her in all that makeup.
Oh my God, I don't know.
Kai.
No.
God, hilarious.
That would have been great. Definitely.
No.
That plays who?
Dial?
Yeah.
One of the Zials?
Yeah.
No.
No.
Give us. You got to give us a hint. Come on.
Yeah,
Okay.
give us a hint on it.
I don't
Okay.
know.
Okay.
There's a lot of people on the show.
Right. I will give you.
know.
So the hints are, she actually appears in 2 episodes, and we have not reviewed them yet. And it's the same character in those 2 episodes.
So weird. I just cheated and looked at the name and I still don't know who it is.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah.
Is it a Romulan senator by chance?
No.
The way that head started.
Okay, so I think this will give it away, is if you see her actual face. Check this out.
Wait, is she one of the is she the slutty enhanced girl?
Oh,
Yeah.
I called it. He was
Yeah.
the only human that I could think of because I
Gotcha.
thought the name was Lauren, who I didn't know her name. Yes.
Gotcha.
That's
She's been
her.
in so many Star
Oh,
Trek.
wow.
I was like, who could possibly be named
Totally
Lauren on
unrecognizable,
DS9?
right?
Yeah.
Really amazing.
That's amazing.
Let's pull up the.
Wow.
Oh man.
So much work.
Mhm.
Power
That's gonna be
Rangers,
tricky
yeah.
because I already have my eyes set on the one who's like silent, and then
See if I could pull up the character real quick.
Oh,
Cher, like,
okay,
follows
okay, okay. I got it now.
that's amazing.
That's crazy.
There
I
we go.
would have never guessed.
Shepherd.
Anyway,
I love those episodes. They're so
Lauren.
good.
Question.
Oh,
Yeah.
the singing? Oh.
And Robert Picardo's in one of them, right? Oh no, that's just where he finds out. Never mind, no spoilers.
well,
She
she's
thought
hiding
Bob
back
was
here.
cute.
Yes.
yeah, okay.
She's awesome.
That guy.
I had no idea her name was Lauren.
Yeah, I didn't know
I
either.
Star Trek does that. How they recycle the same people and bring them back. You would think that they'd hold a whole other casting session or whatever, but like they have a list of people that there's like, okay, if we need another person, let's bring them back as another. And that's one of the only kind of shows that does that, right? I mean, there's not too many shows where you can come back and play same show 3 different
I
characters.
love it.
I like
so,
how true
respectful.
Star Trek is to its people.
Yeah.
It seems to me that if somebody comes in and do a good job, then they're like, we're gonna give you work whenever we can.
Yeah.
Yep.
So lovely.
So I like to see that.
Continuing.
And we keep finding new people. Like this Ken Lesko guy, turns out he was in 11 episodes, various different aliens, and we had no idea. Like there just keeps being new people popping up that we're finding out about.
How did you find out about him? He wasn't in IMDb.
Oh, it was. Yeah, I just checked IMDb. Yeah.
Oh, maybe
You
I'm a
know,
pro.
there's also I think there's probably a little bit of a strategy behind that because I think some actors have real difficulty with the makeup.
Yeah.
And and if they find somebody that passes that makeup test where they're willing to sit in the chair for 3 or 4 hours and they're cool with the temperature and all this stuff, it's like trying to find another astronaut. Like this guy already passed the school, so let's go from the pool of astronauts that we already trained instead of trying to find a new guy. So I think that's part of it too. Is people that act well with makeup. It must be a short list.
They keep calling Tracy back. Keep calling Tracy.
Right. Tracy, Jeff,
Doug,
Vaughn, Doug. Yeah, they definitely have their favorites. The people they know are going to perform every time.
Because I think that I've heard stories of people getting fired or quitting because of the makeup. So instead of costing production, the time and having to reshoot and recast, they're like, let's just go with a proven commodity and get it over with.
Yeah. If anybody's interested, I love makeup. Anybody out there?
It's amazing.
Different kind of makeup.
No, also
no, not Ryan.
He means like creature makeup.
Yes, I know.
You can go on the Paramount
It's
Minus
amazing to
network.
watch.
No, not the minus, the plus, and not the X for sure. No one wants to see that.
PJ, you could actually be on a reality show there.
No, but I'm not really a fan of that alien behind you, TJ. That's the one that I'm thinking is not. It's just like it looks like a seal in the beginning. I was thinking of a seal or a sea otter.
Like without the vape thing, it looks
the breather
weird.
thing.
Yeah.
Because this is only the second time we've seen one. It was on the TNG episode, right?
Right.
Was Wesley
We've
back
seen
and
like 2 in TNG, played by the same person.
Oh,
yeah,
They
but
come
two
from over
different
the
aliens, two
atmosphere.
different characters, right?
Yeah.
Did it look the same, or was there changes in this?
They have
The same, but plus a breathing apparatus.
It was like a breathing apparatus that shot this cool like vapor out because their atmosphere was different, so they needed to have a breather in front of them. And I
Wait,
guess they
isn't
kinda,
that what Nan is? Am I wrong?
No, she's
No,
a
mine is
Barson.
different. She's a
Ron
Barson.
has a
man.
different problem. Yeah.
Okay. Oh my
a
gosh.
different adjustment to make.
I thought it
to
was a
what
situation
you
like the
would-
Klingon situation where they just look different in Discovery. Oh my gosh, how did I get that confused? Take away my Star Trek card.
Seriously, boo.
Oh man, one mistake. No, you're good.
So we have just a few minutes left, but Mr. Scott Jensen, do you want to show us your shirt that you're wearing today?
Oh, check this out, everybody.
Brand new.
Look at how great that looks on that green.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Great on that green. I was absolutely amazed.
That logo is just brilliant.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Shout out to
Love
Sci-Fi
it.
Sisters.
Yeah.
Also, Melissa's sporting something new from her store, Walking Art, made by Melissa.com.
Let's see it.
It's me, number one. It's me.
So cool.
I'm getting one of those.
Nice.
Yes,
Are you really?
That's
Nice.
awesome.
Yep. Order in.
Nice.
Cirroc, are you wearing those stripes? Almost look like they might be
That
an
is Sisko
Abyssinian
kid.
kiosk.
This is one of the Abyssinian
I
kiosks. I don't think I've ever
Oh
worn
my god,
it.
oh my god, let me see.
Wow.
Nice.
It's a
Love it.
basic designer. Like
I like that.
it's like the pyramid on the dollar bill, but it's like a take on it.
Love that color.
Dollar bills.
Dollars.
So that's Abyssinian
Hey,
kiosk.
I was just thinking really quickly about the set that they have behind you. I was wondering how it was built and stuff. I don't know if anybody else had those questions about.
We definitely covered that one with KAITLIN earlier in this episode.
Sure, but I just wondered if anybody else
See if they had
that
anything
question
to
when
add
they were
to it.
watching. Yeah. If anyone else.
Well, I
was
read
kind of-
I read that the ship supposedly is about the size of a football field, so they decided the way that they would show it is make it as though it really crashed hard, and they only showed a
Into
little
the
bit
rock.
above it. Yeah,
That's
Interesting.
smart.
Very cool.
smart.
And it's a Kim Friedman episode.
Mhm.
It is,
Yes.
Love her.
and it was hot outside that
Yeah, they
day.
had to
Always
like
hot,
hire
yeah.
extra people for water and stuff. I read.
Those poor Jemadar hoods that they had to wear.
Oof.
All that. Oh,
Holy
the
shit.
sit-ups
Oh,
Oh.
God.
And
Wow.
being next to the metal, can't even imagine.
that whole time.
Wait, but isn't Eve wearing a Seventh Rule shirt? Didn't I spot that?
Oh,
That looks
hey.
so good on her.
Well, that's a
Yeah.
Oh
chat
my
pack.
goodness.
Chat pack.
The slouchy
Nice.
sweatshirt.
Beautiful. Good eye.
So good.
So you could get that on teespring.com/the seventh rule. You can find that in the description box below, of course. And you can also find AbyssinianKiosk.com in the description box below as well. And Walking Art made by Melissa.com. Sci-Fi Sisters, where can we find them, Scott?
It's on Teespring as well.
Easy. Got it.
And sci-fi sisters.com as well.
And how do you get a discount at the
Mothership.
Teespring store for Seventh Rule?
Be a patron. Be a patron. Patreon.com/the seventh rule. Thanks, Anne-Marie.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to run, everybody. But thank you very much to Eve England, Scott Jensen, Melissa Longo, Homer Frizzell, Timothy Baum, Anne-Marie Segal, Dr. Susan V. Gruner. Anne-Marie's a doctor too. Cirroc Lofton, of course. Mr. TJ Jackson-Bey out in Missouri.
That hand just fit right up in that
Love it.
Just around herself.
All right. Thanks very much, guys. We'll see you next time
Thank you.
on The Seventh Rule.